Hello everyone, thought I'd just give you a little quick update. I know I've been a bit quiet lately, I've been a bit slow on uploading some of the videos I promised on doing. I'm so sorry about this, I've been going through a few things, I've been battling some personal demons. Talking of battling demons, the Jeff Hardy video will be out soon. There's also one on Desmond Wolfe coming up, and thank you for the sudden influx of subscribers. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but thank you. But in the meantime, enjoy part 3 of WWE v TNA. It keeps getting taken down, so it'll probably get taken down again, but enjoy it while it lasts. Thank you.
Damn.
Welcome back to part 3 of the TNA WWE Monday Night Wars. Last week TNA put on a much better show than Raw, but Raw promoted some big matches and Steve Austin will be the guest host of Raw this week. I hope you're all enjoying the series. I'm trying to hit 300 subscribers, so I really appreciate your support. And for those of you who are counting, this will be my 4th video without mentioning he who cannot pronounce Hulk Hogan's name.
It's because of you, Hulk Hogan!
Anyway, enough screwing around. The date's the 15th of March 2010, it's 9 PM, let's get this war back on. Starting with Monday Night Raw first, the show is being billed as WrestleMania Rewind Week. WrestleMania is just 2 weeks away. Stone Cold out first. Oh right, yeah, starting out the show with some energy this week, it was boring last week. Stone Cold asking for beers and hyping up the crowd for WrestleMania. Stone Cold talks about WrestleMania 13 where he took on Bret Hart and is shown in the sharpshooter in a pool of his own blood. He brings up that he had to face Bret Hart and Vince so many times and he will make sure Vince doesn't screw Bret in the contract signing later tonight. Then John Cena randomly interrupts Austin. Austin pretends he's going to stun John Cena and then he randomly just leaves. It feels a bit awkward. It turns out he's just there to take on the Big Show tonight. Big Show then struggles to the ring. During the match, Big Show struggles to get John Cena up for the alley-oop in the early going. Do love that move though. Big Show is a clear heel here and puts Cena in the submission. Big Show's really dominating the early going as he reverses a Cena scoop slam. Big Show then makes an obvious mistake of going to the top rope. Why would you go to the top rope? Look at the size of you, Big Show, has that ever worked? Cena telegraphs this one straight away. Cena then hits a top rope leg drop and goes to hit a 5-knuckle shuffle, but Batista interrupts and ruins the match. This allows Big Show to hit a choke slam, but Cena kicks out of this. That would have been the finish in TNA. Big Show then cheats and manages to nail Cena with the knockout punch for the 3. Batista then mutters to Cena but doesn't attack him this time. Over on TNA, an orange Hummer pulls up with Abyss driving Hulk Hogan, RVD and Jeff Hardy, and then they walk to the backstage area looking like the biggest group of misfits you would ever have seen. Why was Abyss driving the Hummer? Do you see what I mean? What's his character supposed to be? Is he a monster or just an idiot? AJ and Flair come out to the ring to start the show. AJ talks for a while, making fun of Abyss for believing the Hall of Fame ring is magic, and he also says he doesn't believe in Santa Claus. He then calls the person in the audience Fat Boy. Then Flair gets on the mic and talks about his hatred of Hulk Hogan and Jeff Hardy, and he beats himself in the head till he reopens his cut from last week. Jeff Hardy then comes out, but he doesn't have much to say. AJ says Hardy is a nothing and hasn't done anything in TNA, and sets up a main event match tonight, Styles vs Hardy. Flair then gets on the mic and says Hardy is a wannabe artist, and he will have to sniff enough paint to get high enough to beat AJ tonight. Destination X is next week, and I would forgive you for getting the main event is actually Styles vs Abyss. Somewhere backstage, Eric Bischoff is moaning at Foley for ruining the handicap match last week between Beer Money and Jeff Jarrett. Bischoff says Foley is a rubbish executive, and they'll be shaving him in the ring later tonight to fit the corporate image better. They also promote later in the night Hulk Hogan will be confronting Sting after last week. Let's switch back to WWE. Evan Bourne's randomly in the ring. Sheamus then comes out to take him on. Sheamus gets on the mic to tease cutting a promo, but then decks Evan Bourne with the mic and hits a bro kick and a powerbomb. The match never officially starts. Sheamus then gets back on the mic and starts running down all the wrestlers Triple H has beaten in his career. Sheamus brings up how much he's achieved in the first year of his career, and that Sheamus has been looking forward to fighting Triple H all his life. Sheamus says WrestleMania will be a turning point for Triple H, as Sheamus will take his throne. To answer Triple H's question from last week, he does have the guts to face him, and it's on. Stone Cold is shown backstage and Michaels walks up to him. Stone Cold says he thinks Undertaker is going to beat Michaels at WrestleMania, but Michaels says he will prove that he's got what it takes by beating Chris Jericho later on tonight. Jericho then suddenly appears in the office despite there being no door on that side. Jericho reminds him that he's the world champion, but Michaels says he'll destroy him and walks off. Jericho then tries to kiss Austin's ass, but Stone Cold tells him to get lost. There's a poster in the back for a Stone Cold Steve Austin movie that I've never heard of. Kelly makes her way to the ring. She's facing Maurice, the Divas champion. Lots of blonde hair flying around in this match. I didn't realise how tall Maurice is when she stood next to Kelly. Maurice is getting dominated by Kelly in the early going before Maurice randomly scores the French kiss and the match is over in less than a minute. Maurice didn't even get any offense in apart from her finisher. You know, looking back, Kelly has to be one of the biggest letdowns in women's wrestling. She really was billed as being that generation's new Trish Stratus, but she can never live up to the hype. Maurice kicks her in the ribs, and then suddenly Gail Kim and Eve Torres run to the ring to beat her down. Then Lay Cool run down to the ring to clear house. Eve then attacks Layla and grabs her leg, and the women's champion Michelle goes for a kick but botches it. It looks very awkward, look at that. Vicky Guerrero is shown cheering them on. I have no idea what the women's match actually is for WrestleMania. It's a very confusing build, so let's put Spike TV back on and see if we can get a more sensible show. Back on TNA, a recap video plays showing earlier today. The Nasty Boys are attacking Jesse Neal in the catering area. Trust the Nasty Boys to be in catering. Jesse Neal was brought into the company by Team 3D, and they first started feuding on the January Monday Night Wars episode, when they destroyed Team 3D's dressing room. A couple of weeks earlier, Team 3D had beaten the Nasty Boys in a table match after Jesse Neal had gotten involved, so this is how it all ties in. This is all leading to a match back in the ring, but none of what I've just mentioned is actually recapped by TNA. The Nasty Boys are on the mic, and they're truly vile. I know that's their gimmick, but I just couldn't stand watching them. They say it'll be a handicap match tonight with the Nasty Boys and Jimmy Hart taking on Team 3D, as they've injured Jesse Neal. I don't really see how this is threatening to Team 3D, as Jimmy Hart isn't really a wrestler, and 3D are 3 times his size. It turns out Team 3D have actually got a replacement for Jesse Neal, and they bring out Spike Dudley. Nice little return for him here. A terrible 3-minute match. Hart waits in the corner for what seems like forever to hit Team 3D with a bike helmet. I don't know how they couldn't see this coming, everyone else could. He then gives the helmet to Brian Knobbs, who decks Bubba with the helmet when the ref is distracted, to let Jimmy Hart cover Bubba Ray for the free. The Nasty Boys then beat down Team 3D, and tease putting them through a table, but then Jesse Neal runs out to fight them off, and this leads to a 3-man 3D through a table on Jerry Sags. No offense, but this looks terrible. So what happened to Team 3D v the Nasty Boys feud? They should be fighting at the Destination X pay-per-view, right? Nope, that would be wrong. The Nasty Boys got released from TNA a week after this, due to an incident involving Spike TV executives at the Hard Rock Cafe. What a complete waste of time. Everybody and his dog knows that these grotesque fat boys are only brought into TNA because they're buddies with Hulk Hogan. Get them off my telly now. Backstage, Angelina Love is threatening the Beautiful People after losing a Knockouts tag title match last week. She reminds them that she was the original Beautiful Person and issues an open challenge to any of the members of the Beautiful People to face her tonight. Elsewhere backstage, Boras interviews Hall and Pac about their upcoming match with Young and Kevin Nash at Destination X. If they win, they will get TNA contracts. Hall has a filthy looking TNA jumper on which someone's written Wolfpack on with a pen. This looks so low budget and cheap. Then Eric and Nash walk up and Nash laughs at Pac for losing to Young last week. He then issues Hall with an open challenge to face him in the ring tonight for $25,000 if he can last 5 minutes. God, is there enough old wrestlers competing in the ring tonight? For the second week in a row, Hall says he'll be the one in the ring that looks like Elvis. Look, I don't get this line. I think Hall was trying to make this his new catchphrase at this time, but I don't really get what the reference is if anyone can explain it to me. Anderson and Wolf make their way out to the ring. They're facing the team of Kurt Angle and the Pope. They actually play a recap video of Mr. Anderson being assaulted by the soldiers last week. This is the one thing I was looking forward to. This feud's going well. Pope is selling his knee a lot more than last week. It starts out with Wolf and Angle. Wolf tries to tag out to Anderson, but he's playing cowardly heel and refuses to tag in whilst Angle is fresh. He eventually tags in after Wolf has beaten him down sufficiently. Lots of aggression shown by Anderson here. I'm absolutely loving this feud. If Mr. Anderson had kept up this intensity, he'd be going down as a TNA legend. Pope gets the tag and beats down on Anderson and Wolf, despite being one-legged. He almost gets the free after an STF. Then Wolf gets to work on Pope's ankle, but it's reversed into a small package and Pope gets the free. What a depressing story Desmond Wolf in TNA is, definitely worthy of an upcoming video. A 3-minute match which could have been much more. Wolf and the Pope brawl to the back. In the ring, Anderson hits the mic check on Angle after the match, then violently cuts Angle's head open with the soldier's dog tag. He then gets on the mic and starts screaming in Angle's face and bashing Angle in the head repeatedly with the mic. This is brutal. Angle looks like a dead body after this. I've never seen a wrestler look more dead than Kurt Angle did here. It really is a shame about Mr. Anderson in TNA. If they'd have kept this up, he would have been a top star for them for years. But after this Kurt Angle feud, he faded away. Back to Raw now, this is getting good. Back on Raw, Shawn Michaels come to the ring to take on Jericho in one of the big WrestleMania rematches. Michaels starts out like a house on fire and beats on Jericho until he's thrown over the top rope. Jericho is now fully in control after hitting a guillotine and then putting the submission on. Michaels fights out of it, but then he's whipped into the corner and Y2J is back on top. Jericho's being his usual cocky self here. Eventually, Michaels manages to catch Jericho and kips up. He reverses the walls of Jericho into a small package. Jericho then looks like he's back on top and goes to hit a lion salt, but Michaels gets the knees up. Then there's a top rope elbow from Michaels and he starts getting ready to hit the sweet chin music. Jericho bails and runs from the ring and gets himself counted out. I was so upset at this. This match was going along so well. Edge then runs out to attack him. They'll be competing for the world title at WrestleMania. Edge hits the spear and celebrates. A shame because this match was really starting to heat up, as you would expect with the competitors involved, but I guess it keeps both wrestlers from being pinned before their WrestleMania matches. We're seeing a lot of wrestlers from SmackDown appear on Raw tonight. Back on the TNA show, Hulk Hogan tells Jeff Hardy Abyss will be the special enforcer for the main event match against AJ tonight. Bischoff then walks into the room complaining that Hogan signed Hardy and RVD without telling him. Well, that's a weird time to bring this up considering Harvey was signed about 2 months ago and has appeared on TNA TV on the first Monday Night War episode. Bischoff then starts kissing Hogan's ass and Hogan apologises for not communicating with Bischoff better. They're like an old married couple. Bischoff then walks off and Hogan calls him weird. Back in the ring, Angelina Love is set to face a member of the Beautiful People. Velvet Sky gets on the mic and says that Daphne is an honourable member of the Beautiful People and will be facing Angelina. Daphne then attacks her from behind. The match is thrown out in seconds after the Beautiful People interfere. Daphne pulls Angelina into the ring pole by her feet, and Taz asks if that would actually hurt a woman. Don't ask me, Taz. Daphne then slams her into the ring rope. Tara then breaks up the attack and hits Madison with the Widow's Peak, like she was meant to do the previous week. I don't understand why Daphne would even want to face Angelina, she's meant to be facing Tara at the pay-per-view. They then recap the beating that Sting gave RVD last week with the bat, and then Hulk Hogan waddles out to the ring to address the Sting situation. Hogan brings up that Abyss was crying last week after he was attacked by Sting, and he said he needs to ask Sting why he attacked them. He said Sting has stabbed Dixie Carter in the back and has lost everybody's trust. They search the rafters for Sting and then they see him taking a very long walk to the ring. Sting looks blown up from the long walk. He then gets attacked from behind by RVD and he kicks him all around the ring. RVD chucks the baseball bat to Hogan and Hogan makes out he's going to actually beat Sting. But then what on earth? Oh, it's Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff runs into the ring screaming, "Don't do it." Bischoff tells Hogan off like he's a little child and reminds him that his actions are not acceptable. He says he's no longer a wrestler. Security then takes Sting away. Great, so RVD has once again been overshadowed by Hulk Hogan. I forgot RVD was even in this segment. Bischoff reminds Hogan he promised he wouldn't be wrestling anymore. And then it cuts to Brooke Hogan, who's shown crying in the crowd. God, I swear the only talent this moron has is crying. Let's turn back to Raw, this is rubbish. Back on Raw, they announced that at WrestleMania it would be a triple threat match between Randy Orton, Ted DiBiase Jr. and Cody Rhodes. Matthews then interviews Orton and asks him how he's feeling about the match with Triple H later tonight. Orton says he doesn't like Triple H but he respects him and takes him seriously. However, he doesn't take Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. seriously, as they've never had to exist without him. He says at WrestleMania they'll find out that without Orton they're both nothing. Yep, pretty much right, Orton, forecast that one for sure. The Game then comes to the ring to take on Randy Orton. Triple H is in control early on, hitting a knee before Orton throws Triple H over the top rope. He then goes for a vicious DDT off the ropes, but Triple H reverses it, throwing Orton over the ropes. He then goes for the vicious DDT again off the steps, and this time he hits it on the outside. The commentary team barely sell this. They don't make a big deal out of it at all, there's no replay. Orton's now in complete control of the match, hitting a backbreaker and looking to hit the RKO. Triple H dodges it and hits a clothesline. Both wrestlers are now trading punches in the middle of the ring, but a running knee downs Orton. Very back and forth this match now. Orton gets a close 2 count from a side slam before Triple H then hits the spinebuster. He then goes for the pedigree, but Orton counters this. The commentators build up how well Orton and the Game know each other. Triple H then hits the pedigree through the ropes, and then Legacy run in and attack both wrestlers. Another match cut short too early. I guess they're saving all the best for WrestleMania. This was going on great, and it was match of the night at this point, so I wish Legacy would just get lost. Triple H then gets in the ring and attacks them, but then Sheamus runs in and kicks Triple H's head in. Legacy drag Randy Orton outside the ring, and Cody Rhodes hits a crossroads on Randy Orton outside on the ring mats. All the heel wrestlers stand over their opponents at WrestleMania dominantly. They're all the young superstars and they're seemingly ready for WrestleMania. Let's switch back to the Hulk Hogan show. Backstage, Jeff Jarrett is walking along before Hernandez interrupts him and says he wants to help Jarrett out. Bischoff is shown spying on them and tells them off, and then he puts Hernandez in a handicap match with beer money tonight. Bischoff reminds him once again that he doesn't run the company anymore. He then makes Jeff Jarrett the referee for the match and threatens him to not screw up that night. Why would Bischoff make Jarrett the referee? Surely that's an advantage for Hernandez. Up next, Kevin Nash is out for the 5-minute $25,000 challenge with Scott Hall, who's already in the ring. Scott Hall is still wearing his dodgy Wolfpack t-shirt and he looks like a homeless scrub. This makes me sad to see the bad guy look like this. The crowd are absolutely dead and you can hear a pin drop. Nash eventually knocks down Hall. Then Mike Tenay reminds us there's only 4 minutes left of the match. Thank God for that, I wish it was less Tenay. Pac then runs in and clips Kevin Nash. Apparently it's no DQ. They handcuff Nash to the ropes and beat him down. Eric Young then runs out, but the numbers advantage catches him up quickly. Hall then hits one of the worst punches I have ever seen, and it seems to be in slow motion. Hall and Pac then celebrate with the money. What was the point in this match? What was the point in the money? What was the point in the 5-minute stipulation? Why? What? Why? Beer Money is then whining backstage about their lack of TV time. Storm says Bischoff has given them the opportunity to get back on TV by bullying Jeff Jarrett on his behalf. Storm says from now on it's about making cash and getting trashed. Jarrett comes to the ring, but he's got no ring music and he looks miserable. He needs a haircut too. Beer Money come out to the ring, and this is the handicap match against Hernandez. Hernandez is apparently the tag team champion. I had to look up who his tag team partner is. It's Matt Morgan. They've barely been on the show since I've been doing this series. Morgan then makes his way to the ring, but then changes his mind and goes to the commentary desk. Morgan and Hernandez are partners who don't get on very well, and Morgan has a rich history of screwing his own tag team partners. Apparently they're defending the titles at the pay-per-view, but they refuse to say who they're facing. It's probably Beer Money. They would at least make some sense, but I'm not looking this up. Beer Money are dominating the match until Hernandez makes a lovely comeback. He reverses the Beer Money suplex, and Morgan says he can't be bothered to watch the match anymore, and he heads backstage. Hernandez then eats a last call super kick from James Storm and then gets beaten by the DWI. Beer Money then asks Jeff Jarrett to raise their hands in victory, and they beat down on Hernandez once they realise Morgan has deserted the partner. They push Jeff Jarrett over, and this causes Jeff Jarrett to snap and he attacks them. What trouble will this get Jeff Jarrett in with Bischoff next week? I don't care, and nor do you. Let's switch back to Raw. Back on Raw, they're hyping up the Hall of Fame induction for the year. It's going to be Ted DiBiase Sr., Antonio Inoki and others. They play a hype package for Gorgeous George, who will be the next inductee. WWE are going full on hyping WrestleMania once again, as they should. Batista makes his way to the ring. He looks very confident ahead of his WrestleMania match against Cena. He's taking on Kofi Kingston tonight. This match was set up after Kofi attacked Batista last week, who was trying to protect John Cena. Batista does not look impressed by his opponent tonight. Batista's not going off his feet early at all. He's not selling anything Kingston's doing. Eventually Kingston does manage to kick him down. Batista then bails to the outside of the ring and then dodges Kofi and beats him down. Kofi goes for a springboard move but gets caught with a clothesline, and then Batista hits a spine buster and a powerbomb to score the 3 in a quick dominant victory. Despite being dominant, Batista's busted open by Kofi. Batista sees an obese Cena fan in the crowd and pretends he's going to hit him, and the fat boy sits down terrified. Lot of fat boys on these shows tonight. Then they show that Pete Rose will be the guest host next week. Wonder if Kane will be nearby. They announce a handicap match for next week. Triple H and Randy Orton will be taking on Legacy and Sheamus. Let's put TNA back on. Eric Bischoff is shown walking backstage with some clippers. In the ring next, Bischoff says he'll get his revenge on Jarrett next week, but now he has to deal with Foley, and he calls Foley out for his haircut. Bischoff goes to cut Mick Foley's hair, but then Foley pulls out Socko and chokes Eric Bischoff in the barbershop chair. Foley then grabs the clippers and shaves Eric Bischoff's hair off. Bischoff then wakes up and his face swells up red with anger. I'm getting sick of Eric Bischoff on this TV tonight. He's been on the show more than Hulk Hogan, and why is this segment even necessary? Does anybody care about it? Jeff Hardy's weird stoner friend is backstage with Christy Hemme, and I think he threatens Douglas Williams for the pay-per-view in the X-Division match, but I don't know, he chatted some rubbish, I couldn't understand him. Now the Motor City Machine Guns are in the ring, they're hyping up the return of the Ultimate X match. I wish they were the tag team champions instead of Morgan and Hernandez. I think they're facing Generation Me at the pay-per-view, but I can't be sure. Then out of nowhere comes the two skinny Hardy Boy rip-offs. These two guys need to go to the gym more than anyone. Gen Me say the Guns should be scared because they beat them in their debut match. Shelley says they're like an Xbox and Gen Me are like Ataris. Shelley then says let's talk about the night we spent with your girlfriends, and the Bucks lose it and attack. Surely these two guys didn't even have girlfriends. Then Brian Kendrick runs into the ring and joins in the attack. And then Amazing Red attacks, and he's soon followed by Kaz and Daniels. All the X-Division guys are flying around the ring. Amazing Red does a crazy dive off the top of the ladder onto some guys. I'm so confused right now. I thought the Guns were good guys, and even more, I thought it was the Guns versus Generation Me at the pay-per-view. But this segment made me think it's all these guys in the X-Division match. I don't know, they're not telling me the answer right now. Backstage, Abyss accuses AJ of being jealous of him, and says, "What you gonna do, AJ, when Abyss runs wild on you?" Just shut up, Abyss. I'm sorry, but I'm just not enjoying this episode of TNA. There's too many characters I can't stand. It's a great time to switch back to Raw to catch the last part. Back on the last part of Raw, Bret Hart comes out for the main event in his contract signing with Vince McMahon. He's on crutches and he's still selling his leg big time for the limo crash. Vince looks very angry and glares at Bret. Bret doesn't care too much and is just chilling in his chair. Austin comes out next to supervise the proceedings. Austin says he needs to take care of some other business before the contract signing. He says Stu Hart, Bret's dad, has been blocked from being inducted into the Hall of Fame by Vince McMahon. Stone Cold says he'll be inducting Stu Hart at WrestleMania. Surprisingly, Vince is quite happy about this. He says as the whole Hart family will be there that night, they'll watch Bret lose to him in front of the whole dysfunctional Hart family. Hart says he doesn't care if both his legs are broken, he could still beat Vince. Bret then makes it into a no-holds-barred match, and Vince said Bret is screwing himself once again. Bret and Vince both sign the contract, and Stone Cold announces the match is now official. Austin then goes to leave, but then suddenly turns around confused. He said that Bret has something else he needs to tell Vince. As the camera pans back to Bret, the leg cast is now lying on the table, and Bret shows that his leg is fine. He reveals that the whole thing was a setup and his leg was never run over. His leg is 100%. Hart says Vince screws Vince and punches Vince over the table and hits him with the cast. I have to admit I was slightly disappointed that Vince didn't get a stunner tonight. It feels like this should happen whenever Austin is on the show. Never mind though, a good way to end the show. I like the trickery, I didn't see it coming, and I enjoyed Bret Hart tonight. It'll be interesting to see what Vince will do next. Time to catch the TNA main event. Abyss is limping out to the ring with his weird Hulk Hogan theme music. I hope AJ chooses to batter him instead of Jeff Hardy tonight. Here comes AJ in his dressing gown with Flair following him to the ring. I've gotten so used to seeing Flair covered in blood that it looks weird that he's not bleeding. Jeff comes out to the ring in his first match back in TNA against AJ. I can't believe they're giving this match away for free. Hardy dominates AJ in the early going, hitting a leg drop. Eventually AJ tosses him out to the ring and Flair looks to attack him, but Fat Boy stops him. AJ teases that he's going to dive over the top rope but doesn't do it, and then he mocks the fans. AJ's wrestling this match in quite a nice heelish way. A lot of people say that AJ didn't really change his style when he was a heel, but I'd say they were wrong on the evidence of this match. Abyss is still out there watching the match in his McDonald's outfit, whilst AJ snaps Hardy across the ropes. Hardy eventually fights back, hitting a front suplex, but AJ quickly fights back with a brainbuster that a certain Austin Aries would be proud of. Hardy kicks out and fights back with the Whisper in the Wind, but AJ kicks out of this. He goes for the Twist of Fate, but AJ reverses it into a Pele kick. AJ then accidentally takes the referee out with a springboard. He then rolls out to the floor to get a steel chair, but Abyss blocks him, wagging his fat finger at him. AJ then misses a 450 back in the ring on Jeff Hardy, and this gives Jeff the opportunity to hit the Twist of Fate and a Swanton Bomb. Abyss then rolls into the ring and counts to 3. Just get lost, Abyss, I'm sick of you. Is he a monster or is he just a fat Hogan fanboy? Abyss then starts hulking up after Flair hits him with a steel chair, and then Abyss chokeslams Flair through the ramp. AJ looks terrified. Okay, very good. Yeah, that was very impressive, that chokeslam, but do we really need to see Jeff Hardy beat AJ just before the pay-per-view? What was the point in that? It's not even like Abyss screwed him here, he got beaten clean. Then the whole show just suddenly ends. Not as bad as last week, but close enough to almost miss the chokeslam on Flair. A bad episode of Impact, it has to be said. I still don't know what half the matches are for the pay-per-view because they didn't run down anything. There was not enough time on this show because they wasted it on old men. Eric Bischoff was all over the show, and the only half decent thing on the show was the main event, but Abyss tried to ruin it. WWE had several good matches and lots of WrestleMania build whilst effectively promoting Stone Cold's appearance on the show. No offence, but this is not looking good for TNA. They got battered last week. Let's check the ratings for tonight. And here they are, the ratings are in. WWE scored a 3.71. Wow, that's massively up on last week. That's the Stone Cold effect right there. Okay, so TNA promoted basically nothing for this show. Let's see how they got on. Yup, 0.84. That is absolutely shocking. This is now far less than their normal crowd when they were on Thursdays. I had a feeling this wasn't going to be a good week for TNA. It looks like Raw viewers who switched to TNA have now switched back to Raw, and Raw was a much better show this week, so I don't blame them. RVD did basically nothing on this show. What was the point in bringing him in last week? There's far too many old men on TNA right now, and there's only one good feud in Angle and Anderson. And that's the end of the video, I'm afraid. TNA is suffering. Check back next week to see if WWE continues wiping the floor with TNA. I reckon those Spike TV executives are starting to get a bit twitchy. Anyway, I'm out. Thanks for watching.
Batter from Solly Holder Villa for all the chat. It's not my fault that I harass you. When I see somebody like you, I want to pin you up, batter you, clatter you. Lame from the YouTubers, I can't stand you. Lame all night, lame all day. Making wrestling videos, that's who you know about. And that's how you spend weekends. Not with friends, you are zero. Unless you count Google Wikipedia. I'm gonna poison you like Breaking Bad stevia. Then you get battered from pillar to post. Marcus Batter's lame boys the most. Battered from left, battered from right. Just get to the fence, please ref, stop this fight.